Well, good afternoon, both Scott Baker and Sierra Holland. Hello, hello.
Mikey, how are you?
Good to be here.
3 o'clock Eastern Time, and we're glad that you're here for Lead Better on Thursday, November 20th. And our topic today is knowing when it's time to quit. So the question right now really is, do we want to talk about this for 14 minutes, or did I just say enough and we're done?
It's really funny. No, I think we should talk
No, it's
about
not
it.
really funny. It wasn't even that. It wasn't even mildly funny. It was just, but
No,
there you go.
I was imagining us actually quitting.
Right. That'd be good, right?
That would
Yeah.
be the funny, right?
Right. I like
Usually when I say something is funny, I'm like defaulting to like whatever the who was that comedian? The Mighty Mouse.
We're really
comedian.
slowing down the show already.
Here I
Boy,
come
in a
to
lot
save
of
the
different
day.
ways. Yeah, Sierra's like, I picked the wrong day to join the Lead Better podcast.
Yeah.
Never. That's exactly what I'm here for. I'm here for both talking about the field note and the interaction that I get to have with you too. So I'm all here for it.
All right. So you get it, and I think maybe the issue here is that we all get attached to something. A leader does, a team does, and we all know about the sunk cost fallacies and all of those things. And at some point, I don't know why it doesn't matter. It's just that like we don't want to let go. Like we are definitely the monkey that's got their hand in the jar holding on to the candy or whatever it is, and why is that? And so how do we know how to frame this? And the field note's pretty clear about this idea of like strategic quitting is what we're talking about. It's actually a good thing. But I don't know. Do you guys feel any better about it? Because it still always feels bad to feel like you're like, I'm a quitter. I just couldn't figure this out.
Right. We're talking specifically about strategic quitting in the field note. We only spend a sentence on reactive quitting, which is the more common way that people think of quitting, right? But what are a few good examples of reactive quitting out there? Like aside from like my daughter, for instance, is discouraged about the job that she has, and because she just kind of had one last straw, and so she quit, right? And so that's reactive quitting. But we're not necessarily talking about quitting jobs. We're more along the idea of quitting ideas or quitting projects.
Quitting ideas, quitting strategies. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think you can reactively quit a project too. It's not that those two things are mutually exclusive, but I think what we were talking about is reactive is saying, I've had enough and walking away and not thinking about some of those downstream consequences. Strategic quitting is saying, I'm seeing the downstream consequences of us continuing. So this strategic quitting concept is actually saying, I'm taking a bigger look at everything. I'm taking a real sense of what's different about our timing, what's different about our circumstances right now. Are things not as effective as we thought they were going to be? Are things not playing out the way we wanted them to? And it's saying, because of the downstream consequences that will come, we need to strategically quit now.
Right. Now, do we over-index on my feeling? Like in reactive quitting, it's mostly about I don't feel like I should be doing this anymore, and so we're not doing that. But does that mean that in strategic quitting, clearly we're trying to tamp down our feelings as being the main thing, but is it still a data point that we should consider?
Well, I don't know that I would say in all the research that really talks about in the moment decision making, it comes from a gut feeling. So I would say tamping down the feeling might be the first point that makes you think, something's not right here.
Right.
We signed up to do this big technology implementation. We have this new tool that we've been working really hard for. We've been making connections on the back end. We see that there's going to be big benefit in our teams. We think it's going to save people time. It's going to be easy. It's going to be innovative. And once it's there, we can't wait to have it. And maybe that was the vision that we all signed up for, but you're leading the project and you're starting to get that gut feeling that, something's not right here. And you have to then go deeper and get into the strategic outcomes that you're considering. Are we spending too much money on this? Is the tool not as good as we thought it was going to be? Is the timing different? Like, is now actually not the right time for us to change all of our systems to this new product when we're with this new tool and we're launching a product, or we have something else that's really high stakes? I think the gut feeling can get you onto the path to be more strategic and think about, why am I getting that signal? And all the research about gut feelings is fascinating to me.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think that there's an element here for both individuals and organizations where there's also this: how long have you been working hard at this? Like, where the longer that you go, where you were really trying, and at some point, even if you've tried to say, I'm not emotional about this, like I'm trying to be very strategic, but we've been working on this for 9 months. You're like, am I going to scrap 9 months of just the effort because we finally realized we are going in the wrong direction? Very difficult to do that. And so, Sierra, in your work with big organizations and leaders, I'm sure you've seen moments, because you've probably had to help with the communications cascade, to say, I know that we put $500,000 or $500 million into building out this whole product line, but we're going to have to either lay off this division or reallocate resources, or either competitive forces or political decisions that we were out of our control, or other feedback from customers. It's all gone. And everybody's like, well, what just happened? And so it's not then even if you were being very strategic, there's an emotional impact on the other side that leaders have to be aware of, even when they're announcing things, that they're strategically quitting, to say, this is why this is still the right decision.
Yeah.
Tricky
and in
to
those
do.
moments, tricky to do is right, because I think in those moments, what matters for that leader is to show up and to be present and to let people have their moment, but then quickly move on to what the next piece is. If we let people dwell too long, and if the leader is too far behind the scenes, they're not really connecting with people or having these conversations, they feel out of touch. But we don't want to let things dwell too long in that in-between period. I would make sure that there's something next for people to latch on to that's real and credible and is actually going to happen. Not too fast or anything of that nature, but to say, clearly we're moving away from this. Let's move on to that as soon as is reasonably possible, and not going to take too much of an emotional toll. It also, your points around the emotion made me think about how leaders have to self-manage. Leaders have to manage their own emotions around how that feels, and I think they can connect with people and share in the disappointment they might feel that things aren't moving forward when so many people have worked so hard for so long. But they also have to think about, okay, I can't lay this on too thick or make it too much about myself. I might share some of my emotion to connect with people, but if I start to make it all about me and my own emotions, then people are going to turn away from me as well.
Right.
Yeah.
The key here is, though, on this particular field note, is to make sure you don't go to the grocery store hungry, right? So there is this notion of, if you haven't thought about this ahead of time, then don't get involved with the project. But so oftentimes the things that are, cramping us, our style, or making us really fret or hand-wring over a certain thing, is because it started small and we didn't know that it was going to be something that took us into the sunk cost fallacy. So where do we get the discipline to actually, and where do we draw the line on what are the type of things that we do think through ahead of time, and what are the and what we don't? Because I just wanted this to be a simple little test, and now all of a sudden it's not a simple little test, and I'm faced with this idea: why am I facing sunk cost fallacy on this stupid, silly little test thing that I was going to run?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think anytime a leader is, sorry, Scott, anytime a leader is kicking off a project, I think there has to be those kinds of questions of not just what metrics will we hold ourselves to, but what metrics are going to tell us we need to reconsider. We need to seriously reconsider if this is still worth it. Somebody needs to be tracking that and setting that criteria up front if we're going to then be confident in our decision to walk away at the right time.
Yeah.
Well, the kill criteria phrase in the field note is punchy. I mean, it sticks with you, and it's good to keep that in mind in any of these things, and be like, all right, we're going to go do this, and then just as a part of the strategic planning, put that in at the beginning. What are the kill criteria?
Yes, I think it's a great idea that Annie Duke brings up, and it's mentioned here in the field with the kill. But you got to remember, her testing ground was the poker table, right? And so a lot of the decision-making kind of process that she's making is within the confines of a very structured game where everyone is playing the exact same rules. And so saying something as simply as, I understand what poker is, I know how much I want on the upside of it, but I'm going to decide ahead of time that if I lose more than $300 out of my stack, I am walking away. That's just it. And it's great to have that decision, but it's hard to have those kinds of like really firm lines in the office, right? On a project that kind of came out of nowhere for you.
The real world's a little more fluid.
Completely, right? And so that's why this field note is important, because you have to take time to think through those kinds of things. In the gaming world, of course, those things become self-evident because they all iterate around the exact same rules. In life, it's not that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sarah, do you play poker?
I don't.
I have never played poker. I was actually going to try to get through this whole conversation and not directly refer to Andy Duke, because then it was going to lead to my next question. So
every time I see your name,
Mikey said, $300. And I'm like, so Mikey, is $300 your kill criteria when you're playing poker?
It's actually a percentage. So,
and I know of your 6 kids that a little bit of the college money is still left. I'm not sure how much. But take it that in a way that we could understand. It's like the emotion of the moment. Like you can even have a kill criteria, whether you're a poker player or a corporate leader, and you're like, yes, this is the kill criteria.
Yes.
And then you still want to hold on.
The way that day traders do it is they have their stop loss, but it's actually registered. Like they set their stop loss, which means that the machine that they're trading on actually says, I'm going to actually set where my exits are and at what percentage, how much I'm going to exit. But if my total loss gets to this amount, the emotions are taken out of it because I've set that stop loss in such a way where
ahead of time.
I'm not even going to question it. Right.
True.
Now, in your mind, you're still like, it's different criteria now. Like there's all kinds of ways to try to justify it, right? But the most disciplined people that I know are who day trade this way. Actually, and by the way, Michael Burry, I pulled this up because Michael Burry was recently teased with the idea because he actually closed his fund completely. Now, it wasn't a stop loss. Michael Burry, of course, from the famed The Big Short movie. That's probably where he got most well known. But here's a picture for those who aren't watching by way of video of that. It's a meme of like a discouraged miner who's walking away just when he's a moment away from making his riches.
Right.
And this is the picture that a lot of people have in their mind, even when they've executed their stop losses correctly. And at this point, you're saying, okay, what is success for me is not like the guy is disappointed. Like the miner is like obviously deflated, but the only reason he's deflated is because he's put in all this work and he stopped. But if he's stopping because his stop loss has told him to stop, he actually shouldn't be discouraged. This should actually be like, I'm really happy that I stepped.
Because he's got 10 other mines that he actually hit some diamonds.
Yeah. And so, but Michael Burry is being attacked online simply because everyone thinks, and by the way, he's quitting, right? He quit his fund, right? So these are the types of things that I'm sure he's thought through as a day trader, and he doesn't probably make a whole lot of day trades, but as a trader who actually has thought these things kind of through, he's probably got that discipline. And by the way, his quit was not, I'm going to reverse my position. His quit was like, the market is so erratic at this point that I can't predict it by any of my normal means. So
I'm
the
getting
most
out.
logical thing for me to do is not put a position anywhere. So I'm closing the fund. So when you think about that, you're like, oh, that's actually, I wish I could do that more often, right? That kind of discipline in your life is something that you wish. And what I wonder about Michael Burry is if he decided those points ahead of time. And hopefully he did.
Well, I have a question for Sierra because, Mikey, you and I are how do I say this kindly? We have many more years worn off our tires. There's an accusation that the current coming generations, which you're closer looking back at who's coming right into the workforce now, and they use this term grip strength, right? That they just are not as tenacious. They give up on things much more faster than the generations before. Now, there is, as I often talk about aptitude testing, they will actually test your grip strength. It is not a test of how strong you are. It is a test of will you quit or not in the face of adversity. And it's actually a negative if you score too high on grip strength, meaning you'll continue at doing something obstinately even when you should have given up on it a long time ago. And I have a relative who was off the charts on grip strength, and sure enough, in many, many projects over their life, they didn't give up on things that were clearly not in their best interest.
Yeah.
They thought it was a point of character that they kept going, but it was not. So my question is, we've been kind of making fun and articles in the Atlantic and the New York Times. These kids these days, they've got low grip strength and they're just not tenacious. But in some way, maybe they'll be better with the kill criteria. Maybe they would be more open to being like, yeah, this isn't the thing. So I'm trying to put a positive spin on that. I don't know if that makes any sense, but what do you see in leaders in terms of their tenacity over, I'm going to go and pursue this goal come hell or high water, as opposed to being like, no, I'm open to some feedback that says, let's get out of this?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of perspectives in that one.
I know, too many, sorry, but.
No, that's okay. And sorry, my the eco-friendly lights just turned off. But something that I do notice is in that statement is that there are a lot of generalizations. I know plenty of people who are just entering the workforce who do have that tenacity and who do have that grit to hang on, the grip strength and whatnot. I think what you're saying is it actually a superpower to know when to walk away, and how could that be a benefit?
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think the newer generations, if I were to generalize, I think some are very good at setting boundaries or having clearer sense of boundaries around, I want to have boundaries in my relationships, I want to have boundaries on my calendar, I want to have boundaries so that I can live the life that I want to have. I'm not sure we've always been talking about those things as much as we are today. So there's a world in which I can see that having that mentality of what boundaries do I want to put up and maintain for my relationship to thrive, for my project to thrive, for my business to thrive, that could lend itself well to this concept of strategic quitting, because it's saying, I'm going to plan ahead what I want the boundaries of this work to be. I think those could relate, but I think I'm trying to pull together two different concepts I hadn't previously thought about. I do think, though, what we're all coming back to is that foresight to know this is somewhere that we should be paying attention to down the line, that if this part of this project starts to go south, we need to reconsider if it's even worth doing. In some ways, it's a boundaries question, which I think the newer generations could be more adept at setting in advance.
Yeah. Well, and actually, the whole lead better idea is that we start to kind of connect ideas that we haven't quite articulated out yet, and then see what magic happens. And we just did that. So
yeah,
there you go.
Great. And a perfect time to quit as well.
There you go.
All right. Thank you both.